Hello, I'm Steph from My Driver Classic, and today's video is slightly different because I'm embracing my inner Jetson with this incredible Peel Trident. Now I think there were only ever 86 or 87 of these ever made, and it used to do 100 miles to every imperial gallon, and Peel Engineering sold it under the strapline of almost cheaper than walking. But what is it actually like? Well, today we've borrowed this from the Isle of Man Motor Museum, who very kindly loaned us it for a review video. And this is one of the originals. It's not a replica, it's not something that's been built after time. This is one of only a handful remaining in the world. But before we get into any of that, we have a sponsor message, and then I'm going to tell you about the Peel Trident. Life is too short to drive something boring. So if you're looking for your first classic or your next classic, why not check out Bidding Classics Auctions? Whether it's something pre-war, mid-century, or maybe something newer like a retro hot hatchback, check out their website. There's a link in the description box below, or you can Google Bidding Classics Auctions. There's new stuff going on the website every single week, so why not check them out? Now let's go back to the video. This week we're back, so if you remember last week's video we did the Peel P50, and this week we're testing the second of the Peel microcars, and this is the Peel Trident. It's been very generously lent to us again by the Isle of Man Motor Museum. If you're visiting, by the way, you can't test this one, but they do have it on display, and it's well worth a look because with so few examples left in the world, it's one of the only places that you can see them. Now, just like that Peel P50, this is another Cyril Cannell design, and on the face of it, it's a little bit more sociable. It was only made from 1 year, from 1965 to 1966, but it was Peel's answer to getting two people around on a budget. And when I say it's on a budget, it fits again into that motorcycle taxation class, being one of those interesting three-wheelers. And I believe it's noted, and I don't think this one has a Guinness World Record, as the world's smallest two-seater car. I'll give you the imperial measurements later on, but it's 185 centimetres long and 99 centimetres wide. So really there is no crash protection, and the crumple zone is my body, so I won't be taking this out on the road today. Now, very interestingly, if you've ever played Forza Horizon, you'll note that even though there were less than 100 of these ever made, they have somehow made it into that game, which is a little bit of trivia for you. Now, last week we discussed the rise of microcars. We talked about those taxation classes, so I won't talk about that again. But one of the things that I will say is I got a lot of comments about death traps. But look, microcars might seem like a little death trap today, but without cars like this testing out limits, pushing boundaries and exploring possibilities, I doubt today we'd have things like smart cars and the wonderfully wacky electric AMI. It's these barriers testing that create different possibilities of today. Oh, and if you're wondering how we get in and out of this rather space age looking microcar, you have to lift it up from behind you and then push up. And if I'm honest, the Perspex was a lot heavier than it looked, and I was quite concerned that I was going to trap my fingers. So each time I had help from a third party getting in and out of the vehicle. So goodness knows how solo travellers of the 1960s managed. At 73 inches long and 39 inches wide, this is the smallest two-seater car ever made. The seat as we sit here today is meant to seat two people, but you're going to have to be pretty slight because the seat width of both seats together is 31 inches. And if you're wondering how it's constructed, it's a monocoque shell made out of fibreglass with a Perspex dome fitted to the top. Now, the views out this Perspex, whilst even today where it's quite chilly outside, it's getting quite hot inside, the blind spots are nowhere to be seen. In fact, the visibility in this is unrivaled. It's incredible. Now, just like that Peel P50 that we took out, this is powered by the 49cc DKW engine, which I think gives us 4.2 horsepower and a top speed of 28 miles per hour. All very easy and simple to talk about. Let's talk about the dash, because again, that is very simple and straightforward. You've got your Peel Engineering badge over to the left, you've got your indicators, and then you have this central panel here. So the first button here, that's for your engine cutout, so when you're driving and you need to stop, because you don't have a key on this, you just press that button. In the middle, you've got your control there for your single wiper to the screen. And over on this side, you've got your horn push button. And then just below that, you've got the switch for your lights. Now in front of the steering wheel, you may notice there is a non-standard switch here. This doesn't really do anything. It's something that somebody's put in as an aftermarket feature. Your pedals are exactly how you think they'd be: accelerator, brake, clutch. And then your controls down here, this is slightly different. So you haven't got a standard gearbox where you've got first and all the rest of it, because of course you are paired up with that DKW engine. It's off a motorbike, so your gears are essentially like a motorbike as well. So you've got this control here. So this one here, you pull this handle, this lever, and that's what starts the car. And then to the right of that, you've got this gear lever. So if you push it forward, that takes you into first, and then if you pull it back out of neutral there, just those notches, that takes you through to second and third. But we're only taking it around the car park today. We're not going on a massive drive, so we're not going to be getting up into those heady heights of 28 miles per hour. To the right hand side of that, you've got a handbrake, and we do have to say that this is a 2-finger handbrake. You have to be very, very careful when you're taking that off, because you have to be very careful with this whole thing. It's very slight and very delicately put together. You can't be manhandling this. Now that's everything really, all in a nutshell, very quickly put through. But what's it like to drive? Well, I've already taken it for a quick spin around the car park, but I'm going to show you it starting up, and I'm going to just take you for a little drive round. It's very, very noisy inside. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to record it, and then I'm going to talk over the footage when you watch it back at home, because otherwise it's just distorted and it's not fun for anyone. Okay, look, I like to be very honest with you at home about my driving experiences and about things that I don't get right and things that I enjoy or find a little bit difficult at times. And for me, the biggest thing about this was, and I tested this before the P50, was getting those revs right. Now by the time I got into the P50, I was well into the swing of it, but with this it took a lot to get my head around, because it was very different to driving a car. If you've ever taken out a bike, I think you'd probably get your head around keeping those revs as high as you can a lot quicker than I did. But for me, it took me a few rodeos around the car park to get into the swing of things. But once I did, I thoroughly enjoyed myself. And in fact, if you will watch the Peel P50 video, and if you haven't, you definitely should, you'll know that I didn't feel entirely safe. Even at the end of the video, I felt quite uneasy in the car. Now some of that was down to the steering, because the steering in that, it was all over the road, and as soon as you move the steering wheel even a couple of centimetres, which is about an inch, you got an exaggerated response. In this, it's a lot more like driving your car. You move it and the steering, it goes as you would expect it to. With that Peel 50, that wasn't the case whatsoever. So driving this, and I drove this first, felt a lot more at home. And in fact, I felt a lot more safe in this. And I'm not sure if that's because I had a lot more room around me, because you've got that, I would say you've got about 36 inches kind of side to side in the vehicle, or it's that Perspex dome. But in this, by the time I'd spent a good 5 to 10 minutes in it, I honestly had a confidence that I didn't expect to have. And you know what, if you challenged me to it, I'd probably take it from one end of the island to another. Thoroughly enjoyed it, thought it was an absolute laugh, and it felt like a privilege, because I tested out a vehicle that so many of us will just never get to try. Thank you very much, Isle of Man Motor Museum. Thank you to you at home for watching, and until next Sunday when we're doing something totally different once again from the Isle of Man Motor Museum, take care and drive safely.